everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Leandra the TBR0, and today we're going to talk about why I deleted every single book off of my to-read list on Goodreads. As avid readers, there are so many platforms that we have to review books, to talk about books, and I'm a part of almost all of them. I do indeed have a booktube channel, as you can see. This is definitely my main platform, the one that I utilize the most, that I'm interacting with people on the most, but I also have Instagram, I've got Goodreads, I've got Storygraph, I take advantage of NetGalley for anticipated releases, and I'm very fortunate to often get the e-arcs that I request. I say this because I acknowledge that some people have far fewer platforms that they utilize, and maybe Goodreads is your only source or one of your only sources in which you take advantage of this. So the fact that I flippantly am declaring I've deleted every single book on my to-read list is making you clutch at your pearls. Many people that I have confessed this to have gasped, they've been in shock, they wondered why I've even thought to do this, and it really was a pretty easy decision. I didn't think too much about it at the time, but now that I've had time to think it over and realize the benefits for me as a reader, I decided to share my thoughts to the community and have a good discussion in the comments. Because I have so many platforms that I do review books on, it ends up feeling monotonous at one point. So I will admit that Goodreads is the first to go. I push it to the wayside and I don't really update it very often. In fact, it is saying that this year in 2024, I've only read maybe 12 books, and in reality, I've read over 160. So clearly I am not keeping track of things as far as that specific review site goes. Part of that is because I'm tired. I'm tired of reviewing every single place I do when I just want to mention I like the book, I don't like the book. Of course, I want to go in depth and talk about the books that I love, talk about the books that have, fired me up, but I don't want to keep repeating myself, and that is one of the reasons why Goodreads is very easy to forget about, on top of the fact that Goodreads is associated with Amazon. I'm not a huge fan of Amazon. I understand why it exists. I understand why certain readers have to depend on their books for access because Amazon does ship worldwide. Amazon is also, unfortunately, the cheapest option for a lot of people, and Amazon does it on purpose. They are trying to push the larger chains out. They're trying to force us to choose them over our small businesses, causing small businesses to close. It is just a well-known issue, so I'm not here to talk your ear off about that. But these certainly are the reasons why I don't really have too much stake in my Goodreads account. With that said, I do use it. Even though I'm not someone who reviews books every single day, who updates the books I'm reading as consistently as I really should, I do take advantage of it to see what my friends are reading. I take advantage of it to see anticipated releases. I'm intrigued by the Goodreads Choice Awards. So there are reasons for why I keep returning to this platform. However, the one feature that I have found has been a hindrance to me is this to-reads list. As I was going through, I realized that this list is years and years old. I have books on there that I don't even remember where I got them from. Did I see a friend reading it? Was it recommended to me? Was it a book that I entered for a giveaway, so it was just required of me to add it to my to-reads list, which is something I actually have an issue with. I think it's silly to have that as a requirement by Amazon/Goodreads in this whole giveaway process. Or is it a book that when I first started Goodreads, I should say I want to read it because it's a classic or because it's a well-known title, a well-known author. And now that I know myself better as a reader, I think, Leandra, of course you're not interested in reading that. Of course that's not for you. But people do look at each other's to-reads lists. I think I've realized that especially this year as a booktuber who's done so much more collaboration than I ever have done before. I've recommended books, exchanged recommendations from books with other booktubers. We've done entire videos on it. I participated in Battle of the Booktubers, which is still ongoing. Currently, as I record this, we are doing round 3. I'm rooting on all of the competitors, seeing who's gonna join me in the victor's circle. And that process ended up making me realize that I am projecting a type of reader through this to-read list that I'm not. I change with my mood. I'm changing all the time. My preferences are different. And to suggest that this to-read list is a reflection of myself as a reader, that is completely false. So with more collaboration, with more book recommendations I'm passing along to people, I just feel as though the to-reads list is no longer a crutch that I'm using to find books on. It's actually more of a mirror image that is blurred and warped and is not me at all. Let's backtrack to something I mentioned in that whenever you enter an Amazon giveaway, because that's what it is. It's a Goodreads giveaway, but it's coming from Amazon, whether it be an ebook or a physical book. Sometimes the authors are putting it on, but I'm not fully sure how that works as far as the authors providing the books or if they're simply providing it through Amazon as a partner. I'm not going to get into that. But the one thing I don't like is that when you enter a giveaway, it requires you to add it to your want to read list. And that is clearly such a marketing strategy because one, then you have it on your list. You're looking at it, and eventually, if you don't end up winning the giveaway, because a lot of times you don't, more often than not you don't, you then may down the line look at it, be like, oh, I guess I do want to read that, and then you'll buy it from them, or, you know, maybe be a bit more conscious, borrow it from the library, buy it from your local bookstore. Or more often, I'm thinking they're hoping that other people are looking at your to-read list. They're getting the notification that you said you want to read this book if they're going through their feed. And they'll be like, huh, Leandra wants to read that book. Maybe I want to read that book. They'll add it to their list. They'll look into it. And it's just this whole thing where it's no longer about you being honest with the books you want to read. It is Goodreads taking advantage of your platform, making other people see that you want to read this, when in reality, you may have just entered a giveaway because we all like free books. So what's my solution? Am I just deleting my to-reads list and then calling it a day? No, I'm still using Goodreads because we all have to admit that it is the platform that most of us use. I'm still advocating for Storygraph. I prefer Storygraph over Goodreads, especially because it provides the section for DNFing that I think Goodreads needs to add. Not just creating your own shelf. I think there actually needs to be a record of DNFs. Actually, I'm also going to say, for a side note, I think these review sites need to allow for a percentage to be included with all the data of DNFs. Because so many times people are DNFing a book and then they're giving it a rating because they still want to show that they didn't like it, that they DNF'd this book. And can you imagine the horizons we'd be given if we had a button that we said, oh no, DNF'd it, and then you got to see the percentage, the number of people who have DNF'd this book, and then you can be like, okay, well this book has like a 4-star rating, but thousands of people have DNF'd it. That suggests something. So Goodreads, Storygraph, other review sites, maybe consider this because I actually think I'm onto something here. So I do prefer that Storygraph at least has that button for DNFing so you can shelve it, and then I think people can actually see that you've marked it, versus in Goodreads you have to actually like dig through the trenches to kind of figure out if someone DNF'd a book or not. So that's just an issue I have with all review sites at the moment. I don't think we recognize DNFs enough, and because we don't really have that, people are rating books when they've DNF'd, which is, you're right, you can totally do that. I just think that when you've DNF'd a book at 10% and then you give the book a 1 star, it feels a bit weird. Apparently I'm doing another bookish hot takes video. Wasn't planned, but you're getting some of them, so you're welcome, or I'm sorry. But back to my solution. So when I deleted every single book from my to-reads list, which I had to do manually, I'm not a very techy person, so maybe there is a way to do it en masse, but I couldn't find it. In fact, I couldn't find a button to have you just delete the list in general. Goodreads actually does not allow you to delete that shelf, and I think that is crazy. That is actually really frustrating that they're forcing you to keep it on there, and it's very clearly linked to, in case you end up entering a Goodreads giveaway, they then have a place for you to have it on your platform, on your profile, so people can see that you interacted with this book. I don't like that, so that's really frustrating. And another reason why I was like, you know what, let me just delete it. Let me just delete every single book manually, because I'm spiteful, because I don't care, because I'll bite off my nose to spite my face sometimes. Is that the phrase? Kind of a weird phrase. So yes, I manually deleted every single book from my to-read list, and then I've decided to create 2 other lists. One of them is finished. The other one I'm in progress of doing. It's just a much bigger action, and I probably need to take a few days to do it. One list I added was my 2024 purchased books, because I personally have the goal of reading every single book I bought this year. I'm making a good effort of it. We'll see if it actually happens, but I did create that. So then I have a nice solid list, and once I read it, I will then transfer it over to my have read list, which we all have, and it makes sense to have it because it's a review site, but I digress. Then the other list that I've created, but I haven't made any effort to actually fill it, is my TBR backlist. So every book I actually own, I would love to have a digital list in which I can look at that. That way I don't have to run around my physical library surrounding me right now. And if there are certain niche prompts, like in a readathon, or maybe I want to challenge myself, I will go ahead and maybe like be able to organize it based on star rating. So what is my lowest rated book according to all other Goodreads readers? That's a really low rating. Do I want to keep it? Maybe not. Do I want to try it? Or the same thing goes with the highest rated books. Maybe I want to try to go for an easy win. I can organize it that way. So I will say that lists on Goodreads, on review sites, are really beneficial, but I found that to-read has just been very unhelpful. My to-read list, I barely looked at it, and when I did, I was more shocked by the type of reader I thought I was at the time that I added those books, and I think it just ends up doing more harm than it does good. I can certainly predict some of the comments I may get as far as defending the to-read list, and maybe it works for you. Maybe your question is, but how are you going to remember the titles that you're interested in? Well, I can always write it down. I've always been someone who prefers to have a physical notebook. I can write it down. Or what if you've missed out on the book that you said you wanted to read a couple years ago, but now it's the perfect book for you and you can't find the title anymore? It'll come back to me. And if it doesn't, it wasn't meant to be. Or what if someone's trying to figure out what books to recommend to you, what books to gift you? Where are they gonna look when you don't have a to-read list anymore? They can ask me. I can always reach out. I do have wish lists that are connected to my descriptions for every video, and I certainly don't ask people to buy me books, but there are other modes, other ways in which people can ask for recommendations, and the best way to find good recommendations for someone is to look at their have-reads list. What are some books that I absolutely loved? Take some of those elements and then attach them to other books that you think I would really like. You don't need to lean on a to-reads list because there are so many other avenues for you to find out what kind of books I might like. And that's some advice I gotta take myself. I don't need to lean on a to-reads list. I can look back on my shelves at all the books that I've loved and think, okay, well, if I loved these 5 books, or if I loved this one, what did I love about it? Okay, let me find another book that matches that kind of mold. I assure you it's gonna be okay. It's not the end of the world. And if I ever decide to repopulate my to-reads list, then that'll be my decision. I'm not saying that I will be against it for myself forever, but for now, I actually felt a huge amount of relief removing all of those books from my mind, or at least from the kind of vague perspective in my mind. It almost felt as though I had a pile on my shoulders that I didn't even know about, because I knew there were books there, but I didn't know what books they were. So I'm okay, guys. I'm sorry if this ended up being a video where you were just like, I could never, and you just felt yourself cringing the entire time. You felt the hair on your arms rising. But I promise you, this worked for me. It doesn't have to work for you. Thank you all for stopping by, for taking the time to listen to my monologue discussing why I ended up getting rid of my to-reads list. I hope you found it entertaining, or at least insightful, and I would love to hear your own reactions, your own thoughts and feelings about the Goodreads to-read list, its function, how you utilize it in the comments. Be sure to like the video too. Be sure to subscribe if you're interested. And if you're not feeling chatty, then feel free to provide an emoji with a stack of books, because we're talking about books. We're talking about lists of stacks of books. And also thank you to my guests at the manor, my sleuths, my witnesses, my suspects, and my corpses. You are all so lovely, and I'm very, very grateful to have you in my life. And I hope to see everybody in the next one. Bye!